Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit mendoready.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag. Each member of your family should have their own go bag. Visit our website, mendoready.org, to get a list of items that should be in your go bag.
Gathering and organizing important documents before an emergency is an important part of preparedness. So visit mendoready.org today, where you can find a list of important documents that you should have ready near your go bag in case you have to evacuate.
Not every emergency requires people to evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, mendoready.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
A beautiful, clean river doesn't start here. It starts here. What we put down our storm drains goes straight from our streets into our local creeks. Simple changes can make a big impact. Like when you wash your car, the best solution is washing at a professional car wash. But if you wash at home, divert wash water to an area where it can soak into the ground, like a planter strip.
Order today's meeting of the Planning Commission. Can the clerk conduct a roll call, please?
Commissioner Johnson. Here. Commissioner Wiedemann.
Here.
Chair Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Jones and Chair Paulin are absent by prearrangement.
Thank you. Can we have a determination of proper notice, or that proper notice has been established? Apologies.
All notice has been provided for this hearing.
Thank you. Do we have a director's report?
Yes.
Good morning. Richard Angley, Interim Director of Planning and Building Services. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself to everybody. Took over for Julia Krog on her departure, and just let you know some of the other updates we had, which is Gretchen McLaughlin, who is the Interim Assistant Director, and Nash Gonzalez stepping in as the Chief Building, or the Chief Planner. Looking forward to working with you guys in this new capacity.
Okay.
So, have a good day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh. Oh, okay. So the mic's on? Okay. Okay. Matters from the public. Let me just read this introduction. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so in person, via email, or Zoom. If any members of the public logged into the Zoom meeting wishing to speak under public expression, or if there are any, please use raise hand or the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting.
You have David Gurney in Zoom.
Thanks. Okay, so let me see. Do we have any requests from telecomment? I assume that's the man you just identified? Okay.
So he's unmuted already.
All right.
Hello,
Okay,
can you hear me?
Let's go with him.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dave Gurney. I see there's one item on your agenda, but this is not about number 6A, in which Mendocino Redwoods complains about a conflict of interest by a member of your commission. This is about a much broader and more glaring conflict of interest. And that's that a member of the Mendocino County Planning Commission, namely Marie Jones, also operates as a paid consultant with her firm, Marie Jones Consulting. This consulting firm advises clients on the ins and outs regulatory hurdles and legal obstacles for development projects. This is the exact thing that the Planning Commission is supposed to regulate. The first line on her website reads, quote, Marie Jones Consulting provides land use planning, economic development, market analysis, and project feasibilities to public and private clients in California. How on earth can a person operating a company that advises public and private clients on how to deal with the Planning Commission be sitting on the Planning Commission itself? This is mind-boggling, blatant, and overt conflict of interest at a level of corruption that should earn certain players a go straight to jail card. Mr. Norvell, you were on the Fort Bragg City Council while Marie Jones served as the Community Development Director and was presumably also running her consulting business at the same time. Since then, she's been acting as a surrogate to the current Community Development Director, Isaac Whippy. Mr. Whippy has held this acting position for over a year, while also being the city manager and finance director for a period of over 2.5 years now. Meanwhile, Marie Jones keeps showing up in local government like a bad penny. This blatant, in-your-face corruption in local government needs to stop. I've been a community watchdog monitoring questionable agencies for 20 years, but the laughable conflict of interest in having Marie Jones Consulting serving on the Planning Commission really takes the cake. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else on telecomment?
Yes, you have Randy Hanks.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Mr. Hanks? I think he's
Unmute
muted.
Randy.
Go ahead, Mr. Hanks.
I can get it.
Oh, still muted. Perhaps he muted himself.
I can ask.
Hello.
Great. Go ahead, please.
Well, Marie Jones is a neighbor of the Mendocino Forest Products area that's in discussion today. And I believe that she sent a letter in, like 2 letters, one for herself and also one that she was a consultant. But I'm a direct neighbor as well and have concerns, and I've set my questions and my thoughts in on an email prior. So I just want to make sure that those emails have gotten looked at, and I don't know if we go over those today or not. That's kind of it. But Marie Jones is also part of the neighborhood. And that's pretty much all I've got for right now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hanks. Do we have anybody else for telecomment?
We will have Anne Marie Weibel.
Good morning. I wanted to just add something to what Mr. Gurney said. He was also talking about current director of Fort Bragg City, that Mr. Whippy is also, in addition to all these other jobs, in charge of IT, as far as I'm informed. So just to complete the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on telecomment?
No more hands raised in Zoom.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do we have any members of the public in the room who wish to speak under public expression? Come on up.
My name is Susan Blackmer. I live on Luffs Lane, which borders on the property in question on the north side.
Oh, do you want to go ahead?
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski. This is public comment for items that are not on the agenda.
Sorry.
Oh, just want to make sure.
No problem. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to address us on anything not related to the agenda item? If that's clear. I don't see anyone. All right, let's move on to the consent calendar. Do any commissioners have any comments on the consent calendar? Hearing none. Okay, is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Consent calendar, sorry. Any public comments on the consent calendar? Okay. All right, can I have a motion to, or regarding the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 18th, 2026.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, while the minutes are the only thing on the consent calendar, we could approve the consent calendar or make a motion specifically, either way.
All right, I'll second. Have a roll call, thanks.
Commissioner Johnson?
I believe I have to abstain because I was not at the minutes. I mean, I'm not at the minutes. I wasn't a part of the minutes because I wasn't at the meeting.
So Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, that's not actually the case. If you have any issues with the minutes as you would have read them, you can still participate. The issue is if they were appear to be prepared correctly.
Excellent. Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann?
Yes.
Chair Richards?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, agenda item number 6 on the regular calendar. Case number U_2024-0007. Coastal Development Use Permit to allow material storage, including culverts, bridges, road surfacing materials, storage containers, and dead storage of trailers for use in off-site forestry operations, storage and servicing of heavy equipment and vehicles, including fleet storage, after the fact approval for construction of a fire suppression training facility, placement of a mobile office building and storage container, approval to remove asphalt grindings on the existing interior road system that were applied without permits. This doesn't identify the applicant. I assume we're okay with the description? Okay. All right, I'm going to open up the public hearing. And I'm going to ask our clerk if there's been any correspondence and or telephone calls received.
All correspondence has been posted to the public website.
And no telephone calls?
No telephone calls.
Thank you. Okay, can we have a staff presentation?
Good morning. Russ Ford, Senior Planner. Before you this morning is Use Permit U_2024-0008, which requests allowances for material storage for forestry operations, fleet storage, and fire and police protection services. And before we get into the staff report, I'm going to defer to council for a moment.
So Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, this has already been raised by a couple members of the public during public comment. Last week, our office received a letter from attorneys for the applicant in regard to a potential conflict of interest related to written comments submitted by Marie Jones. Ms. Jones submitted an initial comment letter on July 14th and a follow-up letter on July 27th, which have a fair amount of overlap. These letters speak primarily to concerns related to CEQA issues about the proposed project. The Planning Commission is not the decider of any disputes related to a potential conflict of interest. That's a matter for the Fair Political Practices Commission. Ms. Jones is not present at today's hearing, so cannot formally recuse, but also cannot formally take part in any action. She did specifically state in her comment letters that her comments were not submitted in her capacity as a Planning Commissioner. The letter from applicant's counsel refers to a specific section of the FPPC regulations, section 18704 D2A, and that section permits a recused public official to appear before the agency as long as they are, quote, appearing on matters related solely to the official's personal interest, including a real property interest. While our office is also not the arbiter on the meaning of this provision, the Commission's role today is reviewing the project in its environmental review and not any alleged conflict of interest. Lastly, Ms. Jones' letters made clear that she made her comments as a member of the public and specifically not as a member of the Planning Commission. The Commission cannot give Ms. Jones' comments any greater weight than other comments made by the public generally. They are not given any greater weight given her seat as a Planning Commissioner otherwise. If there's any questions, please let me know from the Commission. All right.
Okay.
I also need to state that I contacted for the other commissioners air quality when I was doing the application and realized that I didn't see any comments, yet there was information. So I didn't get any information. The head of air quality basically was going to contact the planner or send a letter of if he had any information. I just wanted to make sure he was reading the whole application. And what I just found out is that's actually, I shouldn't call the lead agency directly. I should go through the planner. First time I ever understood that. Thank you.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, just last comment on that. We would prefer that planning commissioners, if they have questions on a project, to reach out to staff first and let staff reach out to any other agencies if need be or if it's necessary.
Is that consistent with internal? So when meaning like if we had questions, let's say environmental didn't respond on a question, would you prefer that we reach out to staff before we reach out to, if staff has been unsuccessful in reaching them, can we take the liberty to go ahead and reach out to that department and say, hey, staff's reached out to you, they haven't heard from you, but we have a question regarding this, can you follow up?
I prefer not. The concern being that we want each commissioner to have the same information as the rest.
Understood.
So if that comes, the question comes to staff can do the best they can, and if we come to the public hearing, if we have to get more information afterwards, so be it.
Perfect. Thank you. And just for clarification, what you're saying is you reached out to air quality and you still didn't get your questions addressed.
Exactly. He was going to look at it.
And as of today, you have not heard back from him.
What I know is I then proceeded, I'll give the rest of the story, then I proceeded to talk to our planner, Russ Ford, and explain that. And Russ said, oh, he got something from air quality, which I haven't seen.
So we should expect to see that provided today?
Russ Ford, Senior Planner. There's nothing else additional in the record, but I can address that as part of the staff
excellent.
presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just before we leave this topic, what I want to say is, and I'll wait until we have issues from the commission, I do want to talk about lead agencies and reports, and I'll bring that up later in the meeting. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on with the staff presentation. So the project site is located within the regulatory coastal zone at 32,600 Holquist Lane, approximately 1 mile northeast of the community of Casper. It consists of 3 APNs totaling 36.8 acres. The site is zoned coastal industrial and is currently developed with a large shop used for vehicle maintenance and storage, a fueling station enclosure, small sheds, and pump houses. A fire training facility consisting of several stacked storage containers was constructed in 2022 without permits and is located at the southwestern corner of the site. An additional storage container and temporary mobile office are also present, and legalization of all of these structures is included in the scope of this project. Some quick background on the project site. So a lumber mill operated by Aborigine Lumber Company was first established at this location in 1955 to support the then robust timber industry that was present along the Mendocino coast. Mill operations consisted of the processing of lumber products from raw timber, and the mill operated on a 24-hour schedule for many years. Ownership of the mill site passed from Aborigine to several successors, including Georgia Pacific, and ultimately to Mendocino Forest Products, the current owner and project applicant. The mill site remained open until approximately 2000, when the timber market could no longer support its continued operation and the site was shuttered. Many of the mill buildings were decommissioned and demolished in 2005, leaving the few buildings present today in support of minor industrial and forestry uses. Decades of industrial uses had environmental impacts on the site, and it is currently subject to a cleanup order administered by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. The order includes groundwater monitoring and maintenance accomplished by a network of monitoring wells and a funnel and gate filter system to help prevent lingering contaminants from infiltrating groundwater. The site is bisected by Bromley Creek and another unnamed tributary, which are connected to 3 small ponds. The streams and ponds collectively constitute a riparian ESHA as defined in the county's local coastal program. Over the years of mill operation and since its closure in 2005, residential development has occurred in close proximity to the site and on multiple sides, setting the stage for land use conflicts between the existing industrial zone and the neighboring residential zones. So the scope of the project has changed significantly since the initial application. The original application, submitted in 2024, proposed to use the site for storage of raw timber known as log decking, which would have involved trucking of logs to and from the site for storage and transport to other mill facilities. The application sparked a number of concerns among neighboring residents, primarily related to traffic impacts along Gibney Lane, noise related to daily operations, and potential pollution issues. In October of 2024, the applicants and agents held a community outreach meeting with the neighborhood to offer a tour of the site and attempt to address some of the neighborhood concerns. In response to both the community meeting and changes in the timber economy, the applicants elected to revise their application to remove the log decking elements and retain only the minimal requests for use of the site, together with legalization of existing unpermitted uses. The update is reflected in the current project scope. The current project can be broken down into three primary elements. The first relates to storage of forestry-related materials such as culverts, fencing, and timbers, as well as equipment required for loading and unloading of these materials. The second concerns fleet storage and use of a mobile office building for a private company leasing space on the site. And the third is after-the-fact permitting of a fire training tower that was constructed in 2022. Additional minor elements include the permitting of an existing storage container and the removal of asphalt grindings that were placed on the internal road system as a method of dust control. The first element of the project would allow the site to be used for storage of forestry-related materials. This would include things like culverts and timbers for use in shoring up roads, fencing materials, storage of mobile temporary trailers that would be ultimately transported to off-site forestry operations, and a few prefabricated railcar bridges such as the one shown in this photo. Use, maintenance, and storage of limited numbers of heavy equipment such as forklifts and loaders would be needed in order to manage these materials, and the existing equipment shop would be used for servicing the equipment. An existing storage container placed on the site without permits would also need to be legalized through the building permit process. This use can be best classified as general industrial and is a conditional use in the coastal industrial zone. The applicants propose a designated corporation yard at the northern end of the parcel for storage of materials. The southern portion of the corp yard approaches Bromley Creek, which as previously noted constitutes an ESHA and requires a minimum buffer per Mendocino County Code. A biological scoping survey was prepared for the project in October of 2024 and identified only a few instances of sensitive species. The report proposed a reduced buffer of 50 feet from all ESHAs. This proposal was reviewed by CDFW staff, who supported the reduced buffer with the inclusion of a few avoidance and minimization measures. The second element of the permit relates to use of a portion of the site as fleet storage in connection with an existing lease to a private business, which has been using the site as a local base of operations. Family Tree Services currently operates out of a temporary building used as a mobile office. Fleet vehicles are stored on site overnight, with employee vehicles parked during the day during operational hours while fleet vehicles are in service. The applicant estimates 30 staff throughout the week, with approximately 15 vehicles parked daily. This use is classified as automotive and equipment fleet storage and is a conditional use in the coastal industrial zone. The fleet storage aspect of the permit would occur on the portion of the site shown here and would require permitting of the temporary mobile office building. All elements of the fleet storage use would be required to conform to the 50-foot ESHA setbacks, with increased buffers recommended where achievable. The mobile office building currently meets the 50-foot setback, but will be relocated to at least 100 feet from all ESHAs. Fleet storage does not include an entitlement for processing of materials on site, such as wood chipping or cutting of branches. Those uses are not an element of this permit and would continue to be prohibited. The last element of the permit relates to construction of a fire training facility on the site. In 2022, the Fort Bragg Fire Department secured permission from Mendocino Forest Products to construct a training tower at the southwest corner of the property near Holquist Lane. The structure is comprised of several stacked and attached storage containers, augmented with stairs and ladders to provide a variety of training options for firefighting personnel. The tower contains burn rooms that will occasionally host live fire exercises and provide additional opportunities for experience with SCBA training and forcible entry. Once made aware of the requirement for building permits, the fire department approached the Board of Supervisors in June of 2024 asking for a waiver of the penalty fees typically associated with after-the-fact permitting. The board agreed to waive the penalty fees for the tower, but required that it go through the proper permitting process. The Fire and Police Protection Services use classification is a conditional use in the coastal industrial zone, and so can be legalized as part of this permit request. Consistent with the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, staff conducted an environmental review of the project. The biological scoping survey, while originally prepared for a more intensive use of the site, was determined by the biologist to still be applicable to the reduced project scope. The survey recommends a number of avoidance measures and best practices, most of which have been incorporated into the conditions of approval. While identified as mitigation in the report, because they're not tied to an identified impact, they were not cited as mitigations within the CEQA document. Although some environmental impacts could be anticipated as a result of project approval, these were deemed to be less than significant, and so no additional mitigation was recommended. An important consideration of the environmental document is that the site has some significant existing constraints, such as the ongoing pollution issues and related cleanup. Because these factors are existing and would not be a result of project approval, they are considered part of the CEQA baseline. Since posting of the CEQA document and the agenda, the project has received a number of comments from neighbors concerned with potential impacts related to project approval. Some of these are outside of the scope of the staff analysis and would need to be addressed by the Commission should it choose to do so, but I did want to mention a few things here briefly. The first concerns several requests for the department to prepare a mitigated negative declaration versus the recommended negative declaration. The role of CEQA is ultimately to inform, and the purpose of the environmental document is to provide information to the hearing body so that it can make an educated decision. CEQA itself does not approve or disapprove anything. The primary difference between a negative declaration and a mitigated negative declaration is the lack of any recommended mitigation measures. This is typically because the impacts identified in the document fall below an established threshold of significance. A lack of recommended mitigation measures in the CEQA document should also not be interpreted as carte blanche approval of a permit, as the use permit includes conditions of approval that require compliance with state and local regulations, including issues like air quality and noise. With regard to the CEQA analysis itself, there is a lot of existing case law that provides guidance to staff on how to interpret and apply CEQA. One significant case relevant to this project is the Riverwatch versus the County of San Diego from 1999. The significance of that case was a determination by the court that existing conditions on a property, regardless of whether or not they were occurring legally, become part of the baseline condition of the property, and a lead agency is not required to turn back the clock and evaluate those existing impacts as part of its review. Related to this project, that means that the fire training tower and the mobile office building are part of the baseline conditions, as is the existing soil and water contamination from the previous mill operation. Because the proposed project would not significantly increase any of these impacts beyond their current level, no mitigation was recommended. Many of the avoidance measures in the biological report have still been included in the conditions of approval, as well as requirements that the project conform with all permitting requirements related to air quality and dust generation. Regarding traffic, based on existing transportation analysis tools, the estimated impact of traffic related to the fleet storage use falls below state thresholds, and staff supports the recommendations from the Department of Transportation. In conclusion, staff recommends a negative declaration consistent with CEQA and that the Planning Commission approves the project per the facts and findings in the resolution, subject to the included conditions of approval. That concludes the staff presentation, and we're available for questions. Thank
you. Thank you. We have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Wiedemann?
Sure. So I understand just in, and I think it was very clear in the staff report, that MRC in 2024 changed their original request of allowing log decks and log storage there, and they removed that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, the current scope of the project does not include the log decking.
Great. I just want to, and you define timbers as, shoring up, land and whatever, building material is timber?
The applicants would be able to answer that in more detail, but staff's understanding was 2x4s, 2x6s, materials used for bridge building and road building, yes.
Okay, great. And let's see. And at some point in our definition here, we have to, there's some misconnect, I guess, or disconnect on numbering when we come to conditions. And I guess we should do that when we're coming into that, or should we do that now? Because there's some, I don't know if they're a typo, but things must have changed. And so there's certain things talked about, condition number 31, for example. And then it says condition number 33. But should we wait until we get farther into it because there is no condition 33 in my package?
That would be at the discretion of the commission, but it does look like the staff report includes some renumbered conditions that don't match up the
Right.
resolution.
And,
So we
and
can prepare a red
do,
line.
we could do that in the, when we get into the, so to speak, depth of the project, if that makes sense. And the other question I just had at this point is, at some point, I noticed there's there's no talk about the amount of yardage for storage of materials, and at some point I'd like you to address that. And I'll pass at this point with that.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm going to wait for now. I'm going to wait until the applicant gives his presentation.
I think I just have one basic question at this point. I want to be clear that be clear with myself that there's no manufacturing intended on site, because I saw that word in the application. Is anything going to be constructed
No,
there, or?
I think that's also a good question for the applicant. I think the word assembly probably would have been a better choice as opposed to manufacturing, but I will defer those details to the applicant's presentation.
Okay. Right. Guess that's all for me for now. Can we have the applicant do the presentation? Please come up.
Good morning, esteemed commissioners. I'm John Curry. I'm the asset manager for Mendocino Redwood Company and Mendocino Forest Products. This project really started as a log decking project to try and minimize the trucking that we had to incur during the height of the timber boom a couple years back. We assumed that this was an industrial facility and that the things that we were doing there for like the past 15 years were permitted under the uses that we had. In the research that we did, we realized that the sawmill permit had expired, and then the process of applying for the Holquist log decking project brought up these other issues. One of the things we do when we have lessees, in all of our leases, we explain to them they need to comply with all permitting regulations and licensing regulations for the county and the federal agencies. Both our tenants, which are the Fort Bragg Fire Department and Family Tree, failed to do that. So we're trying to be good neighbors. Instead of kicking them off, well, we can't now because, for example, the container that was put there by a lessee, and we can't take the container off without a permit. So we're trying to get this all buttoned up and to be able to use the project, the area, in the way that we intended, which was to support our forestry operations. When you talk about manufacturing, we're not going to manufacture anything, but we get rail cars, which are large steel structures with their wheels taken off, and we do put like wood on top of the decking. So that's going to be probably the most that's ever going to happen there. We don't foresee any huge, we're not going to create this as a storage area for all of our materials for both of our companies and our 400,000 acres. But we just want to be able to cover most of the activities that we've seen, what we've needed to do in the past, and what we want to do moving forward. Unfortunately, the encroachment of residences in this industrial facility severely limits our ability to do what we originally intended for that property. But we're going through the process to try and get as many of the things, with foresight, to try and get as many things that we normally do in our operations permitted. And that anything additional would go before this commission and get permitted if we had leased it out to anybody else.
Apologies, I got a little sidetracked here. Do you have anything else at this point?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Oh. I'm sorry, I think we're on to public comments, correct? Are questions for later or for now? I'm looking at what I've been told.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, if there's questions for the applicant, now is a fine time to ask.
Okay, that was not in my script. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Johnson, thank you.
I mean, well, I understand, because it does say right here that it says that you're going to manufacture, the manufacturing was used. While I know manufacturing and assembly could kind of be assimilated, there could be some really, it could be very different. So when you say you're going to bring these, you're going to bring these railroad things and take the wheels off, and you're going to put wood on
No,
them.
we get them without wheels.
You get them. Okay, that's a great, those details matter, because what it does is it demonstrates what is actually going to happen on the site. So you're going to get this piece of metal, and then you're going to put wood on it.
Yeah.
How are you going to put the wood on it?
Screw it down.
Okay, so that again, that information is important, because if you're welding,
Sure.
That creates an additional impact.
Yeah, you don't usually weld metal to wood.
I'm not I don't build things, just
Okay.
for
right.
clarification. So that's why
Sure.
I'm asking you. And so, and how much? How much are you intending to? Are we looking at 200 big metal?
Probably not. I mean,
Okay.
those things are super expensive. We don't have that many bridges in effect, but it's just moving forward. It's a place for us to store materials like any business needs to do.
So what is your end, and what's the size, and what's the end? And the reason that comes into play is, if they're really big and you're driving them down this road, then there are impacts. So how big are these? How big of a truck are you going to need? And how many are you anticipating to store there, and for how long? So how many trips do you anticipate? Let's just break it down by week. And I know that this is forecasting. You don't know. I mean, but just on an average,
1 to 2?
A week?
No, like 1 to 2 a year.
Okay, great information. And how big are they?
They range from the rail car size. I can't think of it. When you think about a rail car, like you've seen railroad cars, they're about that length. I don't know probably 40 feet.
Okay.
So like a 40-foot container.
Okay, excellent.
And you realize we have been bringing in culverts and things like that as part of the permitted facility, which is across the street. So the traffic impacts are going to be minimal, if anything.
Yeah, but it is going to be an increase, and that's why we asked. So if you're saying that
It
you've
won't
been
be an
bringing
increase because when you're talking 1 or 2 a year, it's like it depends on how much road work we have to do. We're not. This is not a warehouse of material that's going to be in perpetuity. We are trying to get every use possibly done. If you want to put a limitation on how many rail cars we can do, we're open to that. We haven't bought any in a while, but we're trying to forecast out that if we have to do road repair, we want to be able to store stuff there.
Yeah, and I'm just asking for
No, I got it.
clarification. So that's why that's why I'm asking for a little more detail.
And it's hard to say what the detail is because we're trying to forecast out. I don't think we've ever stored a rail car there.
Okay.
And I don't know how many we're going to need. And right now, I don't know of any rail cars being stored on any of our property anywhere in terms of our bridging. Because when a bridge goes out, it's a very expensive endeavor. So we don't keep these bridges around, but we want to be able to store them if we need them.
Sure. And just to clarify, you said that you're already utilizing the property across the street, so you're already having trips of storing stuff over there.
Yes.
But now you're going to expand, or are you going to now utilize that other area instead of the other? Because if you are going to expand into that other area, then yes, you are increasing the amount of trips that you're going. And mind you, what you're saying too, that seems minimal. But again, I'm just
Right.
asking for clarification. It helps us and helps the neighbors to understand what the expectation is.
And I don't know. All I know is that our demand for materials is dependent on what the weather and conditions go. We don't like to have money in rail cars or culverts or anything like that.
Sure.
So it would be temporary at most, and it wouldn't be much more impactful than it is now.
Okay, and just for clarification, because I know that this is a multi-tiered in that, can you delineate between what is proposed, and then I understand that there's existing non-conforming conditions that are needed to be remedied, that were not a product of something that you did, but of your the people, your tenants. If I'm I guess I'm asking that because I want clarification on that. So from what I'm understanding that you said is that you leased out that area. They built some structures. You said, hey, in order to do that, you need to get permits, and they didn't. So what we have is existing non-conforming condition of a structure that's used as essentially like an office, one of them, correct? And then you have the training facility that is used by the fire department. Again, already constructed, that's already been there. So there's no new impact of that. They've been utilizing that for people to come and do trainings, which is important in our area. Again, what they did is they jumped the gun. They did it without. Again, I'm saying all this because I'm just trying to understand clearly as to what we're working with today and what the new impacts are to air, traffic, any hazards, the existing conditions of the three-legged frog. That's what I'm trying to get some clarification.
Red-legged frog?
Red-legged. It might have 3 legs. It's okay.
The non-listed red-legged frog they found?
Okay, anyways.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
So that's I need a little more clarification from you as to what the extent of the.
Again, what we're trying to do, since we're going through this pain once, we want to try and realistically figure out what possible uses we can do out there. And these were some of the uses. I don't know, I can't forecast out what that need is going to be. So that might be something you guys might want to state is what that can be.
Thank you.
But we don't see, I mean, the log decking was going to be an increased traffic hazard, but we don't see any increase than what we have now. I mean, if Family Tree, I don't know how long they're going to decide to stay there, but if they leave, that's going to be a reduction in those numbers. And anything that we do will not, there won't be a significant deviation from the traffic that we have right now currently.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Wiedemann?
Thank you. So, and I asked to put the aerial view of the site plan of the project. I actually drove around there this week and looked.
On our property?
Yeah, I kind of I asked the Family Tree Service if it was all right for me to drive.
That
They said
was
yes.
improper, but okay.
Anyway.
All right. We have a problem with commissioners trespassing.
Huh?
We have a problem with commissioners trespassing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Usually I look at most projects I drive by or look at, so
That's
I
fine,
can
but
be
if you
more,
access the
more
property, you should get
informed.
permission. We need a release of liability and things like that.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay.
Well, I hope I didn't offend you in that way.
Well, there's a previous commissioner that came on us, and the reason why we're in this trouble was they trespassed, got information, and didn't recuse themselves when they heard about the project. So that's a whole other thing.
Oh, okay. Anyway, what I just wanted, so by doing that, I was able to understand the project of what you're asking.
Sure.
And my one question would be the amount of, if you have storage for gravel or yardage, right? And do you have a place where you would put that? Storage of yardage of gravel or fines. And I understand logging operations, definitely, I understand the train flat cars being used for bridges. I've seen that over the years. And I know you need to have material to make sure accessibility. So if you could just kind of point out possibly where that storage would be?
There's a label up there that says corporation yard, and generally corporation yards are where you store materials for your daily operations.
Okay.
We're not going to be a gravel supply company. Who knows, we probably won't store gravel there because we have rock bits and things like that. But if you look at our facility in Ukiah, you'll get an idea of what kind of materials we store. I mean, there's in the case of Ukiah, we did buy a significant, in this case, for example, we bought a significant number of culverts and things like that, and then Jackson State rescinded their contract with us, so we're stuck with it, and we've had to draw down. Those kind of situations are what we're, this would be great for, is if we have an emergency need to store things or access things. This is not going to be a gravel yard. It's not going to be a chipping yard. What we're trying to do is just think about what possible uses we could use for it moving forward that were within reason of this permitting process so that we don't run afoul of this moving forward.
Right. Could you think about giving an amount for a yardage?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So, if staff has a recommendation of limiting it, what we're trying to do is, this permit was submitted 2 years ago.
Right.
And it's obviously caused a lot of controversy. So we're trying to create the minimal impact with the most likely uses. I mean, really what we should do is we should go and permit a sawmill there again. But that's not going to realistically happen in this environment.
Right. And would you be, if we were to strike the word manufacturing and put assembly in, would that work for you?
I think that is a more accurate description of what is going on.
Okay.
We are not bringing in raw materials and creating some sort of finished good and adding value to it.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Sorry, I was having trouble with my mic. In reading the comments that were posted, I think some of your neighbors had concerns about the noise. Obviously, people were speaking about chainsaws, wood chippers, things like that. I don't see any of that in your application, that you're not intending to conduct those activities on the property?
No, we have a lessee family tree that conducted some things. We received a complaint. We told them that that's not a part of what they can do. That's not what our intention is. We're not going to create this as some sort of processing facility for waste product. And in terms of some of the complaints, I haven't actually seen them in the comments, but some people are complaining about backup sounds with, and we also have to realize that Commissioner Jones supplied a table for the noise, but I think she didn't highlight the fact that this is an industrial zone. It is on the envelope of residential, but we should also look at what should be allowed in an industrial area.
Okay, thank you.
But no chipping, no chainsawing will happen.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Sorry.
Johnson. I'm terribly sorry. Commissioner Johnson.
Okay. I just want to clarify, because I'm looking at the two items here. So what you're saying for your project moving forward on this new area of where it's going to be storage of culverts and bridges and road servicing, there's going to be no chippers, and there's going to be potentially no noise impacts. I mean, very minimal if you're just bringing them in. Is that correct?
There's going to be equipment there. I mean, we have cars coming in.
Understood.
Yeah. But we're not doing the log decking.
But
we're not doing any
to the chainsaws, specific to what the
and I explained to that we had
I
complaint,
understand.
and we explained to our lessee that we would not allow that moving forward.
But number two of what we're looking at today is the after the effect approval of the existing these existing conditions that are creating noise to the chainsaws and the wood chippers. So what I'm understanding is, well, for your new, there's no going to be new impacts, but the existing impacts that are already a concern that happened without approval, those are not going to change. Am I understanding that correct? Because they're still going to stay there, because we're approving what's there and already running.
Yeah, but
okay, that's all I needed to know.
So the chainsaws and the chippers are part of your question?
Yeah, absolutely, because
they're
if you look at, excuse me,
yeah.
If you look at the second question, we are doing an after-the-fact approval for what is existing there, and what is existing there is things that went into use that are non-conforming. They didn't, and this isn't your issue, but they are your tenants, so they do become your responsibility. They came in and they started operating without the proper permits, and typically when they would come in, they would have to go through this process where they'd have to invite the neighbors to see what the impacts are. But so now what we're being asked to do is I understand what you're saying. You're like, hey, we're not really doing anything. However, there is an existing thing here which people are coming out and there are concerns about, that essentially if we approve all of this, we would be approving that and putting our stamp on it. So that is why I'm asking.
Sure. And what I want to make clear is that nothing in our lease allowed them to do wood processing activities out there.
Understood.
Or chainsaw work. So that is not, in my opinion, and not our intention, to be an underlying condition. It was a one-time event that happened, or maybe it happened twice. We have then told them it's not allowed, and it won't be part of this baseline condition.
Understood. I appreciate the clarification.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment on the item today? Do I need to announce 3 minutes? Are we limited to 3 minutes on this?
3 minutes is on the timer for you.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak.
Yes, could you please state your name before you start?
My name is Will Roberts, and I live near the Mendocino lumber area. And I just want to say, before I prepared a written statement, before I read it, I'd like to say that Mr. Curry, is your name, Curry? I'm not sure he's really presenting that much information to the board. He uses phrases like "don't foresee," hard to say what the details are, we don't know, who knows, we probably won't, I have no idea. You heard him. This is all, they're asking the blessings of the board for some prospective operation that they don't really know what the extent of it is, and they've already shown that they are willing to go forward without a permit, or at least allow their tenants to. So anyway, that's preface. Here's my statement. My name is Will Roberts. Together with my wife, Randy, I reside several hundred yards from the lumber company. We always wanted to have a place in the country. In '09, we bought a modest one-bedroom A-frame on 1 acre in the woods. We expanded, first by adding a large outbuilding for a shop studio, then a round bedroom addition with a second bath. Along the way, we lovingly landscaped our acre, putting in all our favorite plants in a design inspired by the Coast Botanic Garden. Now we live in a beautiful setting to grow old, watching the seasons turn and our grandchildren play. Now into this happy dream comes the nightmare of industrial pollution, the noise of big trucks belching diesel fumes into our air, hazardous chemicals seeping into our groundwater, smoke and dust, noise and traffic, all the nastiness we wanted to leave behind in the city. At least 400 residences are located within a half-mile of this property, some even closer than us. No one wants this. Mendocino Redwood, the largest landowner in the county, can find another location for their operation that's not in the middle of a neighborhood. Thank you. I'd like to submit this. I was told I can submit this to the...
If you can leave it there, I'll get it when we're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Please state your name first.
Morning. My name is Bruce Moore. Our family's home is 150 yards along Home Run from MFP's property. We've lived there since 1993, so we suffered through the noise and pollution of the mill and our neighbors' trauma with the pollution of their groundwater, where they can't drink their water or cook with it anymore. We've lived here since '93, but even so, the very first time I heard about all this was just before the 4th of July this year. We were not informed of any unofficial meeting between the company and the residents in '94. Out of the blue, this shows up with a hearing right around the corner. It's summertime. People are taking off for vacation. It's next to impossible to get professional help or even opinions to address all these issues. Really hard. So maybe that was the point. I don't know. But I do know what my first response to this was with the letter announcing the meeting. This is way too fast. Way too fast. This is a big deal with potentially huge health, quality of life, and environmental issues. Most people in my area don't even know it's happening, much less that it's already up for your approval. I think really the most important thing today that you can do at this hearing is to make sure there will be plenty of time for the people, all the people, who wonder how this might affect them to study and consider it. Time to ask questions, to get answers, and to express their views in detail, exactly. I recommend some months before permitting any further activity on this site. That would allow time for a meeting or meetings to be held on the coast, the commission could host them or not. Everyone who has a stake in the project should be welcome. This certainly includes all the neighbors, you folks, and the employees, managers, and owners of Mendocino Redwood Company and Mendocino Forest Products Company. Give it and us time. You'll be glad if you do. Don't issue the permission today or a mitigated response. Don't do that today. If you do, you're counting on a human health, environmental, legal, and public relations nightmare. Now, Mr. Ford, in particular, the most serious issue with the old LP mill site in our neighborhood is, of course, contamination by lethal, deadly toxins, including dioxin, as we all know. On pages 2 and 3 of the introduction to the initial study and negative declaration, it reads, "The mill was finally closed and dismantled in 2005. Local contamination of soils due to decades of industrial use has occurred, though some steps have been taken to mitigate those issues." Some steps? Not everything yet? Besides the gates, the filtering? Well, it's true and inadequate, both, that some steps have been taken.
Mr. Moore, can you please wrap up your comments?
Yes.
Thank you.
So also I think an EIR is called for. An EIR would be another step in finding out just how effective the mitigation has been so far. And a point, as I was driving by the mill site a couple Saturdays ago, I saw that they were using the fire training facility, the unpermitted one, and there was plenty of chainsaw work going on. That's a very noisy thing, and they did burn formaldehyde, wood products, treated wood in it, which they should have known as fire people. I know that. We can't burn that in our backyards in the county. So that facility, I think you should take those issues separately, cite them. This is in my comments that I've posted along with this, several other items that I hope you get to read. And I hope you read all these comments and take them to heart. This was a last-minute effort by the neighborhood, and like Will said, nobody around there wants it. Like, nobody. Well, maybe there's somebody, but I haven't run into anybody yet. So really, thank you for your time and consideration. I hope you'll give us more time on this.
Thank you.
You bet.
Could we have the next person?
Hi, Susan Blackmer, live on Leffs Lane. You can see my property in that photograph. It's that close. There are many things wrong with the requested conditional use permit U2024007 for the Gibney Lane site belonging to the Mendocino Forest Products. To put it succinctly, allowing an industrial site that sits in the middle of a rural residential neighborhood makes no sense. And to put it in legal terms, is an invitation to lawsuits stemming from accidents and air and water contamination. In the 70 or so years since the property was originally developed as a mill site, residential housing has sprung up on 3 sides. You could see that in the old picture and the new. Realistically, it shouldn't even be zoned for industrial use anymore. How would you like to live next to an active industrial site? Specifically, my concerns are as follows. Groundwater contamination. According to my son, a geologist specializing in groundwater and soil contamination abatement, this is a leaking underground storage tank site, which is why it continues to be monitored. Contamination levels have slowly declined over the decades. You can see that on the water report I included in my other letter comment. But reactivating this site will mean reintroducing soil contaminants that will leach into the underground water and recontaminate the wells. Noise pollution, heavy industrial machines listed in the report will far exceed decibel levels allowed by county code. Noise from trucks, not to mention backup beepers, which are a lot more annoying than you might realize, will scare away local wildlife, of which we have a great deal. On our property alone, fox, jackrabbits, deer, turkeys, bird species, skunks, all live on our property, and a pair of ospreys fly over on their way to the ocean every day. But whenever anyone does work nearby requiring large machinery, the wildlife disappears for several days. The air pollution, already addressed, especially the fire training facility and the toxic materials they're burning. Changed conditions that affect zoning. Most importantly, the report should take into account the following policy. New industrial development shall be moved to other areas where it will not have significant adverse effects on coastal resources. Since the previous owners abandoned the use of the site 2 decades ago, the current owners have no pre-existing rights, as I understand it. And finally, policy DE 62 states that, quote, reuse of closed resource-based processing sites in rural areas should be compatible with the surrounding area. Why are we not looking at a report that suggests rezoning the site to parks and recreation like the city of Fort Bragg did with the old Georgia Pacific site? Why not ask the Mendocino Forest Products to donate or allow this small parcel to be used by a county as a park and let it go back to its pristine state? They would make good neighbors and build a lot of goodwill in the community by doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have the next person?
Hi, my name is Rosalind Moore. My neighbors and I are asking for a delay so we have time to come up with an adequate response. And I apologize if there's any mistakes in what I say. I just haven't had time to figure it all out. This project would affect hundreds of households. We don't know how many residents that includes. In order to protect us from environmental dangers, the law requires a CEQA analysis. This CEQA document leaves us with many serious questions. We're asking you for the time to get our questions answered. This is our neighborhood. These are our loved ones. The CEQA document claims the project is consistent with an existing industrial site that has been in use for more than 50 years. This is not true. This particular industrial site was formally vacated 26 years ago. This seems to be a new project with a different owner and a different purpose, trying to piggyback on operations from a project that was allowed 50 years ago before the adoption of the coastal plan. Here's just one point I have time to bring up as an example. The CEQA document mentions additional incidental operation of diesel-powered forest equipment, which would increase diesel emissions. Since there's no longer a proposal for a log deck, why would this equipment be needed? The operation of the named equipment can result in noises greater than 120 decibels. A sufficient CEQA document would specify what they plan to use, how much, what the loads will be that they're receiving. It would then put this all together and analyze the noise impact of the added equipment. But there's no word of that. There are dozens of equally glaring emissions. The proposal makes a lot of claims for which the CEQA document should require enforcement mechanisms. The company claims they will not be noise polluters. Exactly how would this be monitored and guaranteed? And what consequences would there be if they exceed their limit? When the biological study was written, it assumed that this area would be used as a log deck. The CEQA document should have been updated to match its new purpose and analyzed for its higher potential to contribute contamination into the nearby wetland ditches and Bromley Creek. It was not. The CEQA makes environment protection a mandatory part of government decision-making. Clearly, the dangers to our health and environment have not been adequately addressed. This CEQA document should give you all great pause. The proposal should not be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Eileen Russell. I work in community engagement for Mendocino Redwood Company and Mendocino Forest Products. I just want to say that I was at the community meeting a couple years ago, and we really held that meeting to get an understanding of the concerns of the neighbors and also to assure them that we were not moving forward with the log deck portion of the permit application. And we also, really tried to express as much as we could that we are open to discussion from any neighbors or ideas about best uses for that property. I probably handed out 20 of my business cards. I didn't hear from anybody, which is fine, but also on our website, we have a contact form. Anybody who's interested in coming anywhere on our properties is allowed to reach out, and I'm usually the person or somebody else will come and, bring you onto the property and just have a conversation about what's happening. So I understand that nobody wants increased noise in their neighborhood, whether that's, 3 teenagers that just got their licenses or increased traffic because people are now dropping off culverts or maybe a rail car once a year, but it's also pretty routine use of a giant industrial yard that sits across from a forestry office. At our forestry office in Ukiah, like John mentioned earlier, there's culverts that sit out back a few times a year. Contractors come out and pick them up for a job, but this isn't a, giant new use project. It'll just be permitting what is allowed, what has been used now, and then also what might be used in the future. So I just wanted to come up and say that about my experience and, trying to bring people into the fold about what our activities are and how it can be challenging sometimes, but we do our best to, meet the needs. And the fire building is just one such example of somebody coming to us and saying, hey, can we do this? And internally we weigh it and say, okay, yeah, we think that'd be great, because obviously we all need fire safety and people need to learn how to train. But then on the flip side, it can cause problems in other ways that you don't foresee. So that's just sort of the nature of being a large industrial landowner that has so many facets to balance all the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Winters, and myself and my wife, we own a residence on McDonald Lane, which abuts the old mill property directly. And I would just like to say to Eileen, I don't think we ever received any invitation for any of the, for that meeting, or for any meetings for that matter. And we didn't receive any information about the beginning of the proposal back when this, couple of years ago or a year and a half ago when this was getting going. Okay, I'll get to that a little bit more. I thank the board for the opportunity to comment on the project. And I think it's very important. I think Marie Jones's recommendations for the projects could provide a starting point and a path to workable solutions for a lot of the thorny issues which were not addressed adequately in the draft negative declaration. I've been working with others to frame a response to the negative declaration and the proposed MFP project in general. However, we were made aware of the proposed project only a month ago when the notice informing the public of the negative declaration was sent out. We've not had time to prepare. I believe that we should have been contacted about the proposed industrial uses when the MFP project was received, proposal was received. So I feel that a request for a delay in the final decision-making is fair and reasonable. The proposed MFP project plan is to move the new industrial activities into a site surrounded on all sides by residential neighborhoods. Good land use planning is based on separating conflicting activities like residential housing and industrial storage. The proposed project would do just the opposite. The noise, traffic, and pollution that could ensue with the proposed industrial activities will be at best a nuisance to local residents and at worst a threat to the health and safety of adults, children, pets, and wildlife. Reading the comments to the Planning Commission, I noticed that some of them are from folks who live in homes near the site for decades, and their responses are similar in tone. They don't want to go back to the old days of noise and pollution degrading their home life. These sentiments should be respected. The needs of the residents should carry weight in planning decisions for an area. I'll just jump right to the finish. Whatever path is chosen, it must protect local neighbors, local residents' health, safety, and quality of life. I don't see how this can be achieved without an EIR or possible amendments to the draft negative declaration. And again, I think there were so many good ideas in Ms. Jones' work that don't have to be taken verbatim, but it would certainly improve things to incorporate them into some kind of final plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kirsten Solorzano. I don't have a well-organized objection like a lot of people here do, but I do want to say that we are also in the photograph of the mill site where we're living. I first found out about this a month ago when my dad received the letter at his house. He goes walking every day around the neighborhood, and I think it was yesterday. We actually were, we walked out to Gibney and somebody drove by and I said, look at that. One of the family tree people driving the speed limit. I don't think I'd seen it before. It's really scary walking up and around there. He used to walk around Gibney. There's a sort of a block that he'd walk around, but he doesn't do that anymore because with the ditches on either side, it's just too frightening with the traffic the way it is, and to think that it would be worse is just not safe. So he just sort of goes up and down other streets now because the neighborhood has been made unsafe with that traffic coming through. The water is also obviously a concern. We have the creek going through just behind our property. So that's another thing. But I just wanted to say, even just the traffic is really a huge difference. So please take that into account. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Sloan, and we have a family place out on Pine, and I have some serious concerns about the proposal. One is that the applicant has made assurances of how things are going to be safe and up to code, but clearly they are either unaware or have no regard for because they have two very large buildings out there that aren't supposed to be there, and to be asking for retroactive permitting shows their inability to control and monitor what their tenants are doing. And I want to know if there's any assurances that they are providing material assurances, not just promises, which are legally useless, that they're willing to put up in case there is a spill of toxins into the creek that's right there. How are they going to deal with that? Is it going to be paid for and cleaned up? And I mean, I believe everybody out there is on well. That means their drinking water, their bathing water, their irrigation water, all comes out of there. And if there's a spill, it wrecks the place for a very long time. And I don't see that being addressed. And to say that this has been used as a logging site, yes, it has. And we used to burn our trash at Glass Beach. I think we can do better. Oh, and also, when it states that there's going to be lumber out there, I don't know if it's been made clear that the lumber isn't just your typical pine 2x4, but if it's being used to construct bridges and be outside, it's going to be treated. And that, if it's stored, is just with rainwater, is going to leach into the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comment? Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is Sam Sloan, and I live in the area affected. The main artery into our neighborhood is Gibney. You can't walk on Gibney nowadays for the traffic and the speed, which the speed is totally not regulated. They drive it at, I'm sure it must be 50 miles an hour at when family tree service and other things let out, particularly heavy traffic and fast traffic. And because of those trucks out there on Gibney, you gotta walk on the side of the road. And I used to walk on the side of the road. Alongside Gibney. I fell in one day when I was trying to, my automatic response to a car or a vehicle that was going by at such a high speed, I lost my footing. I fell into a ditch. Took 4 guys to get me out. That's not right. In a neighborhood like this one, it's a beautiful neighborhood with beautiful people in it. And the idea of expanding an industrial site won't increase traffic is absurd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there. I feel so nervous. I don't know why. I'm used to public speaking. I'm Rebecca Kress, Ukiah Citizen of the Year in 2000. The reason I was given Citizen of the Year was because I cleaned up the Russian River for 20 years. I'm the river lady. And I know a few things about riparian pollution. I live a few hundred yards from the site. I moved there 5 days ago, and I live in Fort Bragg now, and I spent the last 3 months trying to find housing, and it's really hard to find. And I found out about this a couple of days ago, so I'm not really prepared. I've had a couple of occurrences with the family tree trucks. I pulled up to the stop sign on Gibney Lane, and there were 5 of them exiting the property, and I got there first, and I was starting to turn left, and they peeled out in front of me, and it seemed like they had to be in kind of a caravan. They didn't want to be interrupted. They didn't want a car getting between them. It was really aggressive. And then this morning, one of their trucks did a U-turn right in front of me, right in that intersection. I concur that more time would be needed, that an environmental impact review is a good idea. If you know anything about watersheds, you know that creeks go to the rivers or straight to the ocean. You can see the ocean from Gibney Lane. So anything that goes into the water, into the creek or the ponds, either infiltrate the groundwater or they go directly to the ocean. Eventually, everything makes its way to the ocean. I don't think it matters if the frog is listed or not. Who cares if the frog is listed? You can see that this site is going to affect all of us. And you have a picture of Noyo Harbor right there on the wall. You guys are our neighbors. You're welcome to come to my house and see what it's like. If you want to go check out the site, come visit my house, my new house, all the boxes in the yard. I just moved there. This is not right. And each one of the separate uses are concerning. I'm really bummed out about the fire. They said that they're going to drag wood from the Casper dump to the fire tower and burn it. And it's just a good way to get rid of the wood. Well, it's toxic. The smoke, what it does to the groundwater. I believe in community, and I invite you guys. You're welcome to come to my house if you want. I'll fix you lunch. I'll make you a margarita. I just think that we should all work together. We need more time. We need time to study this. These are my new neighbors, and they're a force. They're fierce. And we're not just a bunch of old hippies on the coast. I'm from Ukiah. I lived in Ukiah. And I just think that it deserves more time and more study. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julia Lark, and I live on Gibney Lane. And I urge you to not rush to approve this plan. And you've heard what others have said, and I agree with that, and also with having an EIR. And there hasn't been much mention of that this property is in the coastal zone. And I gather that the Mendocino Forest Products has special dispensation, but I'm not sure if they that an EIR, when we're not sure what the status is, I think an EIR is needed. And I also wanted to ask when, I don't know your name, but why Jackson State Forest ended the contract with Mendocino Forest Products, if he was willing to answer that. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to comment on the item? Looks like we're done with public comment. Oh, thank you very much. Do we have anybody online who wishes to comment?
We do. We have Anne Marie Weibel first.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. I also submitted some written comments. I lived behind the former mill site from 79 to 84. The noise was unbearable day and night. And I was glad to hear that when the mill was shut down, But learning about this project, it's absolutely incomprehensible that this is not a mitigated negative declaration, should be an environmental impact report. This document, 183 pages, cannot be digested or even known about by many people in 5 weeks. And I am wondering also how you can even vote with 2 members absent, if you have a quorum or not. But there needs to be definitely more time and another document, an EIR. I listed all the issues that are not properly addressed in that negative declaration. I'm only mentioning socioeconomic resources, with all the properties losing value, and it was mentioned under land use and planning that there is no impact on the community. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. You've heard the people speak and you read all the comments, I hope. So there's a high fire hazard in this area, and maybe nobody on site. And it's not consistent with the Coastal Act, general plan policies. It's located in the coastal zone. That was not addressed. I'm not even talking about the things that happened without permission that we should now approve. You only got 4 letters of comments, and that ESHA apparently was no problem for fish and wildlife, but it needs to have a 100-foot buffer zone. It's next to Jug Handle Creek and the staircase, and the importance of this specific area. There's no other place on earth that is like this particular pygmy forest. Turn this place into a recreation area, and housing is also badly needed in our area. So mandatory findings of significance were totally overlooked and said it didn't exist, because it says, does this project have impacts that are individually limited but cumulatively considerable? The answer is no. And does the project have environmental effects which will cause substantial adverse effects on human being, either directly or indirectly? The answer was no effect. So you gotta be kidding. This needs to be relooked, given time. You have a lawsuit on your, in your hands if you don't deal with this appropriately. Thank you for letting the public comment.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, next you have ORC 8 on there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Steve Orsi. I'm the fire chief of Fort Bragg. I just wanted to clear up a few things, especially on the permit issue. It kind of sounds like we and maybe the timber company were trying to get away with something, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We were all under the impression at the time that this tower that we put up didn't require a use permit. Of course, we were wrong, and we learned that lesson, and then we went about doing everything we could to do the right thing and trying to get it done. So I just want to make it really clear that we weren't trying to get away with something, and we weren't trying to be sly. It's right there in the open. I think everybody can see it that drives by it. But anyway, that's pretty significant, I think. The other one was a comment earlier about us taking wood from the dump and burning it out there as a way to get rid of it. It's actually the opposite of that. We burn a non-treated, non-painted wood in the burn rooms. We do put plywood on the walls and on the ceiling to give it the effect of a actual structure fire. What we do with the unburnt plywood or the burnt plywood, that the remnants of the burnt plywood, is we load it up and we take it to the dump. We don't burn it. We get rid of it that way. So that was wrong. We do burn about 12 times a year. We try to keep it minimal. It's great training for new people. We're just running out of ways to train them. We used to burn houses. The air quality would actually allow us to burn houses in our area as training, and we'd set them all up and we'd get the new guys in there and get them some experience. They're getting harder and harder to get and harder to get all the permissions for. The main thing with them is asbestos clearance, which costs money, and that's one of the reasons we don't get a lot of house burns right now. But they recognize the need for fire training, and they actually allowed burning complete houses, not just little burn rooms, for 5 or 10 minutes at a shot. So anyway, I just want to make it clear that we weren't trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes or anything like that, and hope that clears up a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dorsey? Steve, are you still on the phone?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a question on the, do you ever use any of the spray, fire retardants out there?
No.
Okay. And plywood usually is treated, right? Everybody's aware of that.
Plywood has glue in it, yes.
Yes. Okay. And if we're trying to keep toxicity down, would there be some other product that you could use? And so you don't have to answer that now, but maybe if you do have the answer, that would be great. If not, maybe you can investigate that.
Yeah, I do not have an answer for that right now.
Okay.
We can look into it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Another thing is that infrastructure, that tower that was built out there. Is there any way you can put some kind of a metal plates underneath it to make sure nothing gets into the ground?
It does. It's on concrete slab. It's on concrete, and there's a metal bottom to it, so it doesn't get on the ground.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess I should ask any other questions at this point. Is there anyone else? Oh, I apologize.
Just to confirm, Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, if there's questions to a speaker, they cannot be asked, we can ask them at that point in time. You don't have to call for questions, but if a commissioner wants to ask, they by all means can.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online who wishes to speak?
Next, you have David Gurney.
Go ahead.
Do you read me there?
Yes.
I'll be quick. You've already received my written comments on this project. And despite Marie Jones' multiple conflicts of interest, including her ironically being a NIMBY neighbor to this project, it is more than obvious you cannot grant a negative declaration. The neighborhood has radically changed since the site was designated as industrial. You've received, I think, over 40 comments from the public objecting to this being hurriedly put before your commission. It is totally clear that you need to provide an EIR, or at very least a mitigated declaration. Please postpone any decision on this project until legitimate review can take place. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online?
Valerie Stanley.
There we go. Sintamana, Kabidan Noho,
Shabalda Nokai. I am the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Sherwood Tribe, which is totally in our territory of Sherwood Valley. I also am from the Noyo River Indian community right there in Fort Bragg. This is also in our territory. I agree with these public comments. I think Planning Commission, you need to slow down a bit. It sounds like there needs to be some clarity of what's going forward. I know I had submitted a letter from the tribe because not where the site is, but all around it and below it and above it, east and west. We have many cultural uses within the area. Some are plants. Our processing to get those ready to use is in our mouths. It's always been a problem down by this LP mill, is what we know it as. So, and the other thing I wanted to just state for the record was earlier it was said that there was letters sent out for the public. This tribe never got anything. And it is no secret that we are from there. We've been doing this work for years. So as things move along, we'd like to be notified. And I know planning more than has our address. So I ask again, please slow down. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online?
There are no other hands raised in Zoom.
Anyone else in the room who wishes to speak who has not done so already? Did I miss anyone? I don't see anyone. Sorry. Right. Looks like we're at any final remarks from staff.
No, other than I would like to request a quick 5-minute break before we continue.
I was about to do the same thing.
Thank you.
Do I need to announce that? Great. Sorry, I'm new.
What time do we get back?
That's a good one. It looks, so it's 11:06 right now, so 11:11 a.m. Back at it? Okay.
11:15.
Is that 5 minutes?
Yes, there will. You should come back.
So just to clarify, our 5 minutes?
That's fine.
Okay, so 11:11 a.m. we'll be back.
Straight from our streets into our local creeks. Simple changes can make a big impact. Like when you wash your car, the best solution is washing at a professional car wash. But if you wash at home, divert wash water to an area where it can soak into the ground, like a planter strip. Also, empty your bucket of dirty wash water in a sink. The wash water will make its way to the treatment plant, where it is cleaned. You probably know how to pick up your pet's poop when you are out on a walk. After all, it's the neighborly thing to do. But what about the pet waste in your backyard? Pick it up regularly, and especially before rain or irrigation water washes any of it into a backyard drain. Your pet's poo is full of bacteria and nutrients that can contaminate our creeks. Scoop the poo, bag it, and put it in your garbage. When tending to your yard or garden, check the weather and prevent over-irrigation. Runoff of fertilizer, herbicides, landscape materials, compost piles, and leaf debris pollute our creeks. Remember, timing is everything. Pick up any litter or trash that may get into the streets. If you grab it before water or wind arrives, it doesn't have a chance of ending up in our creeks. It's up to each of us to take care of our creeks and rivers. They're ours to protect. Find out more at streets2creeks.org.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Visit MendoReady.org. It's our one-stop shop for emergency information. You can sign up for emergency alerts, find your pre-established evacuation zone on our current emergencies map, and find hazard and preparedness information.
Imagine you're faced with a disaster such as a wildfire, and you're ordered to evacuate. I'll bet you wish you had more time in that moment. Now's your chance to buy yourself that time. Sign up for Nixle and Mendo Alerts on our website, MendoReady.org. Do it today.
If you want your family to be as resilient as possible, it's important to take some time today and visit MendoReady.org, where you can look up your pre-established evacuation zones on our current emergencies map. You can also find important tools to help maintain your situational awareness, such as the Alert California wildfire cameras and the Caltrans road conditions cameras. We hope you'll take some time today to prepare so that your family can be Mendo ready. Thank you.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit MendoReady.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag. Each member of your family should have their own go bag. Visit our website, MendoReady.org, to get a list of items that should be in your go bag.
Gathering and organizing important documents before an emergency is an important part of preparedness. So visit MendoReady.org today, where you can find a list of important documents that you should have ready near your go bag in case you have to evacuate.
Not every emergency requires people to evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, MendoReady.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
A beautiful, clean river doesn't start here. It starts here, What we put down our storm drains goes straight from our streets into our local creeks. Simple changes can make a big impact. Like when you wash your car, the best solution is washing at a professional car wash. But if you wash at home, divert wash water to an area where it can soak into the ground, like a planter strip. Also, empty your bucket of dirty wash water in a sink. The wash water will make its way to the treatment plant.
Okay, we're back from our break and continuing with our hearing. I think we were at final remarks from staff.
Available for discussion and questions.
Any questions from the commission? And let's start with Commissioner Wiedemann.
I actually think in lieu of the input from the neighboring community, I do think this needs more time. And I'm willing to give it more time, which means postponing it. And I think the issue is really, you know, because of this site, mill site, and its history of the amount of toxic pollution, you can understand, even though what they're asking going forward might have less impact and trying to mitigate some of those things, I do think there's some strong issues that still need to be looked at environmentally. The one thing I do want to say is seeing the site, and you do have a waterway running right through the middle of, or one section of the site, and it's active, that I think trying to do a 50-foot ESHA setback is questionable. And the reason I say that is I think it needs to be staked where 50 feet is and that's one reason I want to postpone voting on this today, because it needs to be staked to see where the 50-foot line is and where the 100-foot line is, because it is an active creek or stream. And there is a growth around that, not all of it, but, and then I would say, because if we're going to have usage of trucks and driving in and out, then I'm going to say that needs to be fenced, that setback line. So because that's one issue, I have a lot of other things. I think we do need more time. I'm willing to go through my points that need clarification, but I do want to talk about an environmental impact report and why we didn't do it at this stage and what it entailed to do at a postponement date stage.
I'd like to build on that, because I actually had a question. I understood. Yes, I understood your statement in regards to, you know, it has been that there's case demonstrating that, given that there were prior uses, those were the baseline. But what we are looking at is we are evaluating this new project, which essentially was the storage. But I think one of the challenges here is we need to look at this property holistically, and I'm not necessarily referring to as it operated as the mill, but we have two unpermitted uses there potentially. We have the fire facility and I wanted to clarify this, that it was my understanding that they require a conditional or a coastal use permit to operate there, in addition to the family forestry. They also, in addition, so I think the challenge to this project is we have three moving parts, and it's unfortunate for the property owner in a way, because, you know, what they're doing seems, you know, we need more. In my opinion, I'm on the same page. We need more information. The applicant needs to provide more detailed information. more specifics. And I get it where he says, well, we don't know, we haven't forecasted it. Well, that's easy to say, and then all of a sudden you get a forecast and it's like, there's money to be made and this is what we need. We need more information, and we can't provide that because we're not the experts in the area. You are. So we have to kind of kick that back over to you and say, do your homework, look at it, you know, all all the potential scenarios, and what would be ideal is find an average and find a max. And typically, as a commissioner, I like to look at if it's reasonable to provide the max, because that gives you a little bit of leverage. If it's reasonable and doesn't, you know, because I keep going back to what the use permit findings are, and that is the use permit finding is that you know, it talks about, you know, public health and safety and impact to the neighbor. We can't. I don't believe we can make that finding today. That's just even on your project, because we really don't know the details. You know, typically providing specs, the neighbor had a great point. You know, larger pieces of wood, you don't want to get just a raw piece of wood because it's going to rot. That means it's going to be treated. And how is that going to be stored? Is it going to be stored on the ground? You know, those are important details because they create a long-term impact to an already really challenge site. And so our goal is to leave things better than we found them when we can. Well, I understand you inherited this property, or you purchased this property after the fact, and you don't operate at the level of contamination that it was before. You know, there's an opportunity to do better. And you know, I think that this can be continued. This isn't necessarily a no for me. It's like, we just need to find the right path forward. And I don't know that the right path forward is lumping all of these into one permit. I feel like a condition potentially could be made to support theirs. However, we need to remedy these other two things, but I don't know that we can. I think they need to be looked at independently. You know, the fire facility, that has its own, we need more details on that. I mean, the neighbors hear chainsaws. They don't know if it's coming from the fire facility. They don't know if it's coming from what would we call them? Forest Service? Not Forest Service, but Forest Service management, tree management company. There's so many moving variables that we need to delineate those, and I think that they're best addressed as different projects, because what I'm hearing is a lot of the concerns may not have anything to do with the fire facility because there's some confusion. You know, chainsaws. I don't know that the chainsaws are relevant to the fire facility. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to having the fire facility. And in Marin County, we support the fire department burning down houses. When there's going to be a demolition, we invite them in when we can because there's value added to you're not born knowing how to put out fires and navigate rooms and those moving parts. So there's advantages to the community to that. But we need to have that information to look at that independently and not just kind of lump it into one. So it circles back, that was a long segue into environmental impact report. While the new proposed project for Mendocino Forest may not necessarily trigger that, but there are new impacts with these two additional uses, the accumulation of all of that, because it is one parcel, could trigger that. And so I think that and I'm not an expert in CEQA. I don't use it enough in where I work, but I think that is something that we need to consider prior to be fair and reasonable, and in order to get to be able to support the findings. So I concur with you that this just needs more time, and I think that we should potentially look into looking at these as independently. Instead of lumping them into one conditional use permit, because I don't think that's, and maybe the decision is to deny it as one, and then come back as, meaning like, because what we are asked today to do is to approve 1 and 2, so it's multifaceted. The new stuff that's going to go in, and then the second stuff, which is kind of approving what the existing non-conforming stuff is. While I can't get to approval for any of those right now, but if we continue it, we would be continuing it as one whole project, looking at them as as two, 1 and 2. There's a new project, and then we're going ahead and looking at kind of grandfathering in the existing uses. I don't want to do that. I think that they need to be looked at independently. So I'm looking at you because I don't know what the best path forward is legally as if we all come to that conclusion. if it's better to continue it or to deny it and ask it to be brought back independently.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, to the one point of 1 versus 2 to 3 different use permits, it's all on the same property. I don't think that having separate use permits necessarily gives you more clarity on who to talk to. If I'm correct, the department typically has 1 permit for the property, and we go to the property owner for that. No, this is what department does typically do, is 1 piece permit for 1 piece of property, and then all those uses are covered by that, and we talk to the property owner about those issues. If they have a tenant with an issue, we would still go, the code enforcement would still go to the property owner. So typically how this would be done is a single use permit for the entire property, and that's why it was brought forward like this.
I understand. Then it would be, then in my opinion, it would come back as 3 new coastal use permit, or 2 coastal use permits and this thing, not a matter of, and so that same level of detail needs to be provided for each of them, because I guess maybe it's the way that it was worded in the staff report and the way it was presented. It felt like we were just kind of like, this is what's new, and we're just going to kind of, this has already been there and we're going to brush it under. I don't think it should be evaluated as that. I mean, I guess when I look at projects where we have multiple tenants on 1 parcel, it's an independent tenant. So again, I'm looking at my own experience, my own projects. When I've processed conditional use permits, we have maybe 10 tenants in 1 commercial building, and if 3 of them need use permits, they don't come in for 1 use permit for the entire facility. They come in because for different tenant spaces, they might want to operate different uses that require different approvals. So they would come in independently. So maybe this is an issue of, and this would be for the property owner to decide whether the property owner wants to apply for this or the tenant who's leasing that area wants to come in and apply for that. I guess I'm looking for a little bit of clarity because right now it seems like it's a little convoluted. I encourage you to.
Yes.
Can I interrupt here?
Yes.
Just as a point of procedure, I think we may be convoluting some of our, how these hearings generally happen. We went from staff to commissioner questions to staff, and we may have passed over applicant final comments accidentally. Should we backtrack and do that and then come back to commissioners' additional questions to staff?
So to the chair, Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, the chair script is just an outline. So if we can always go to the applicant now and see if they have any questions or comments. Okay. If there's more, right now I think we're still on the questions to staff is where we were at, okay. And that's what we were trying to address was.
Yeah, somehow things got a little convoluted. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Wiedemann.
So, getting back to questions or thoughts to staff and fellow commissioners and public, I could go through this document and tell you what I need more information on, more specifics for the future. In other words, I can't approve or deny this application as it is right now in this resolution. For instance, I'm going to go with just number 1, material storage, including culverts, bridges, road surfacing materials. Stop there. What is the road surfacing material and how much yardage are we putting on that site and where are we putting it? That is like kind of common. That's kind of common to a site. And I get that this is an industrial use and you don't want to define things, but we need to define things because this particular site has a history. It has a problematic history. And so I believe doing due diligence for the community and for the landowner, let's define this. So I would say that's number 1. We could talk about the amount of dead storage of trailers. How many are we talking about, right? That could, we don't want it to turn into a junkyard, right? And so you could go through each of these points that I felt like were kept very, in a way, general. I'll be polite, general, but they need to be defined more. And then I would say, and so I don't know if you want us to go through that right today before we shut this down, or do you want to have it, I don't know how you want to proceed. And I have marks on all these points.
Yeah, Russ Ford, Senior Planner. I think staff would definitely appreciate direction on how to bring this back in a way that the commission wants to see.
And Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, just to tag on to that, I think it would be helpful for staff to hear all those things. So we're not just doing a continuance for a continuance sake, but we're doing a continuance upon existing thoughts of the Planning Commission of what it wants to know more about. I mean, to the points of Commissioner Johnson, the issue of more details of project description, whether or not we agree or not in terms of how many permits to be applied for. I think it's clear the Commission wants additional detail in terms of the specific aspects of each project that's currently being operated on the site. So I would recommend going through the lists that you have currently, so staff can take that and consider what it looks like for either continuance to a date certain or needing to renotice it and do a continuance to a date uncertain.
Should we do that yes, should we do that before or after we hear from the applicant if he chooses to come back?
I think we can offer to the applicant next, and then obviously, if there's, as the commission goes through their points, if we want to offer any more question time or response time to the applicant, we can.
And could you provide some clarification? Because there was a reason that I brought that up about the different use permits and the different tenants. Because essentially, if the property owner, I'm not suggesting they should get rid of Family Tree. I'm not saying that, but they own the property, and if what they're needing to do takes priority of leasing out that space because it sounds like there are a lot of issues related to traffic, related to that particular use and the impacts to the neighborhood. They may, if for them to move forward, they may decide, look, I need this more than I need this. So they may not want to continue with their tenancy with that. I'm not saying that they would, but allowing them to have more than one use permit doesn't necessarily compromise them if you have all of this under one permit, it compromises their ability to use that property in the way that they want to. If the different uses are addressed independently, then does that make sense?
I understand where you're going with that. I think there'll be a question we could address with the property owner.
Okay, I just didn't know if that is because you said that there's not. You said that we do one use permit for a parcel, and I have seen that done where it's not. That's not always the case.
May I suggest? I think if the owner, the landowner, if they have a tenant, I mean, we could actually say, can you provide your contract with the tenant so that we understand that use? It could be part of the use permit.
Well, I think it's going to be imperative to get an approval if we're going to, because essentially that's a different use. And so what we would expect from the property owner for the new use that he's proposing for storage, that level of detail and materials and what is their maxes, what's their hours of, what are their times? I mean, right now, when we have storms, the tree service may be going out at all hours. That is not necessarily ideal if you're using a residential neighborhood to go to. And I think all of that information is important to provide that. Well, it is, and again, and I apologize, I don't remember, if you're looking at the zoning, clearly it's residential in one area because there's residential, and if it's industrial in the other, looking at the code as to how do we marry these two areas, all of that I think needs to be looked at. It's all additional information that needs to be part of the analysis.
If I may, through the chair, I think just the one comment that staff would have regarding splitting up the permits is I think that veers dangerously close to piecemealing the CEQA analysis of it, which is discouraged because typically you want to analyze all of the projects associated together so you get a full analysis of the impacts.
Understood. And that's actually why I asked about the accumulative impact. When you look at parking, however, with parking, when for a conditional use permit, you would you could have potentially different use permits or sign permits. But then when you look at that in a bigger one, you would look at all the the potential of the cumulative, all the different uses. So I understand what you're saying. I think we're all trying to just get to the same place. It's, we need more information. We need to know the right way to do it.
I see somebody's coming.
I think Nash can provide a little bit of clarity here.
Yeah. But before Nash speaks, I just want to say, also on the other use was the you know, proposed fire practice building. That needs to be defined also, like how many times are the fire departments coming out? What are they doing? More details. Those are like two uses that are clearly being presented that we could define.
I see we have someone who wishes to comment. Please state your name.
Interim Chief Planner Nash Gonzalez. What I've heard here is the definitions, more information, greater detail, and so on. I would also agree with Russ, you don't want to split up the permits. You don't want to piecemeal. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a secret document that's all over the place. So, and then traditionally, the department has always had one permit to cover the different uses. So ideally, what you're looking at is having staff come back with a more detailed approach, maybe A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, identifying each of the uses, maybe a concept plan that is worked with the applicant that shows this is where this is where this is. But again, it is an industrial site. It's very hard to nail down and say, this is what you're going to do here, here, and here. It's not a planned development where you say, this is what's going to rule, and that's what it's going to be forever. It is an industrial site. Mills traditionally have moved things around. Industrial sites do the same thing. But I think a memorandum that clarifies where things are going to be and how they're going to be achieved, I think that's what really the commission is after, as opposed to piecemealing the permits.
What the proposed the business plan and proposed operations, like that's important in regards to traffic impacts and noise impacts as to what are the hours of operation. And that's that's why it's a great idea to identify each of those, the 3 uses, because, you know, again, what I'm hearing is the least impact is going to be what they're proposing for the storage. They're looking at 1 to 2 years. The family tree, depending upon the time of year, and that needs to be included. During winter times, we could be accessing the property, 24 hours a day, but that's important information to have for use permit. They are adjacent to a residential neighborhood. I understand that it's an industrial site, and we have to respect both locations, but we have to find a way to respect the needs of both uses as well, because they're adjacent to one another. And so I guess but at this point, I don't feel like I have enough information to make that determination in order to make the findings, let alone for, certainly I can't look at it approving what he's doing, because I'm like, we've got this like low-hanging fruit over here that I don't know that we can make the findings for any of that. So I guess that's I'm only clarifying that so that staff can make note of it. So that's the expectation for me moving forward.
Correct. And I agree. And through the chair, I think what you're looking for is an operations plan, as that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for the contract that the operator, that the property owner has with the tenants. I don't think that's something that is appropriate to ask for. But you can ask for an operations plan that says, business A, this is what they're going to do. Business B, this is what they're going to do, and so on and so on. And that becomes part of the use permit. Any other questions?
Oh, I do have one. So if we wanted to request an EIR, what would be your suggestions there?
I don't think this raises the level of an EIR. And again, the commission can ask staff to reevaluate it, but staff can then come back with the additional information. But at this point, what you can ask is, can you reevaluate the environmental review?
And Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, just to tag on to that. I mean, typically with CEQA, you do the CEQA you're required to do. If the project is exempt, you stop there. So here, we're going to take, we definitely want to hear all the things that you want us to be reviewing and analyzing as part of the next step. And we'll take a look at that and see if that changes our thoughts on neg deck, mitigated neg deck, or potentially an EIR. The issue, you're mitigating a project either way, through a mitigated neg deck or an EIR. The difference with an EIR is that it gets you to things like a statement of overriding considerations. You couldn't do that with a negative declaration. So I think we'll withhold, any final judgment on that point in terms of what additional studies may or may not be required based on the comments raised by the commission, and we'll bring those back to the commission at a later point in time to go through what we think and recommend adopting.
I'll speak for myself. I think I was clear on, I really do want more clarification and definition of the uses and the amount and how, for instance, when I talk about the amount of storage of material, like road surfacing materials, we have to have more definition on those. So you can define timbers, right? When you say timbers, I mean, two commissioners here, I had a different thought of what timbers were than my fellow commissioner. And so, and also the public said, well, what is that? So I'm just going to go through the other part of on number 6, it's what we have is, excuse me, let me backtrack here. So we have number 4 is the timber, define that. Define number 3, the asphalt grindings. Tighten that up, for clarification for us. Clearly, we talked about number 1 and number 2, right? When we're talking about what are you doing with the removed asphalt grindings? We have, when we refer to certain hazmat things, well, I'm not clear. It refers to the grindings. So I think that it just needs clear scope, and if I go to, and then I'm going to clear up a couple things on, if you go to the findings on page 6 of Exhibit A, I think we need to ask for the 50-foot buffer and the 100-foot buffers to be staked, just so we can see what's the difference between the 50 and 100-foot on the ESHA.
Just a quick clarification on that. When you say staked, do you mean physically monumented on the property or just more accurately surveyed?
I think it should be staked on the property. And I'm not saying it could be temporarily, because when I saw the property and I saw the waterway, I thought, well, where's 50, where's 100? And I kind of know a little bit about that in my background and my career. So I think it could be staked temporarily, but then it should be monumented. And then I would say, and that's a number 20 in the findings there. And the 23 is not limited to logging trucks, excavators, skid steers. Well, but it gives heavy equipment, heavy machinery. What are we talking about? Now, I know it's an industrial site and we have to leave a little latitude, and you're probably feeling like we're not leaving any latitude, but we need that defined more, okay? And if you have questions, you can ask the commission what else they would need on that machinery. And then I'm going to, number 26, it's about fencing shall be checked and appropriate maintenance shall occur on a regular basis and after every rain event. By who? By who? What staff? Is it our staff? Are they hiring a biologist to do this? So it has no weight until we define who's monitoring these wetlands, right? And let's see. And on So on the 29 where it says asphalt grinding removed and the project, and my comment is, and inspected and signed off by what lead agency? And then in the staff report, it refers to 32 and 33 that are non-existent, and we need to clear that up. And I have to find out where that is. And I pass with that.
Commissioner Johnson, would you like to go next?
I just wanted to ask a question.
So I wrote, oh,
Is it possible to ask a question because that other gentleman came up? Is that not standard to do?
I was just advised it's at my discretion, so please go ahead. And state your name again, please.
Julia Lark. I just hear this, you're talking and you seem to be glossing over that this is in the coastal zone. And these are pretty serious potential water pollution or contamination of the water table and burning of toxic wood possibly, or even burning it all. And it's in the coastal zone. And to say, oh, I think we just need to just get a new plan and then we'll okay that. I think you need an EIR or whatever the coastal zone kind of report they will require. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
so I just wanted to clarify for that comment. So us necessarily requesting more information doesn't deem it an approval. What it does is it allows us more information to feel like we make a more informed approval. If we continue it today, it's based upon the fact that we don't feel like we have enough information to potentially deny it or to approve it, or we could deny it, but that's not really fair or reasonable to the applicant because we don't have enough information to clearly make that decision. So I just wanted to clarify that. This doesn't mean that it's an end all. We're just asking for more information.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you return to the microphone? Thank you.
I hadn't realized that they had sublet their property in 2 different ways, or could in the future any different number of ways. And that seems like sort of a loose aspect to this plan too. So.
Thank you. And I think that's what we're trying to do is get more information. But thank you very much.
So while mine isn't, I didn't get to that level of detail that she did because I felt like, I guess for me, what I would encourage staff to work with the applicant in essentially going to the finding that we need to make and breaking it down and having, looking at, as I broke down the conditional use permit finding, is that it doesn't constitute a nuisance. It's not detrimental to public health. It's not a safety issue. It's not detrimental to the general welfare persons residing the neighborhood or the people that work at the property, that it's not going to be injurious to property or impact neighborhood, essentially what I just said. Proposed use is necessary for the public health, safety, and welfare. And once we look at that, then we go down and it's like, so what does the applicant to need for each of those independent uses to demonstrate that all of those things can be addressed? Air quality, traffic, neighborhood, noise, in ways of that information that he could potentially provide would be, materials, spec sheets, the wood, an operations plan that show, and again, break it down into each of them because each of them have different needs. But, it's the challenge here is when you have 3 different uses, and again, we have to look at them as an accumulative. The fire department may be only using it once a month for their training, whereas why do I keep forgetting their name? Tree Friendly. Tree Service. The Tree Service. I'm just going to call it the Tree Service. Family Tree Service they may use it minimally during the summer, and then they use it a lot during the winter, and so that detailed operation plans helps us to look at it accumulative. So where the fire department's probably not going to be using it for the winter, so that actually mitigates itself in regards to the traffic that's being used. But right now we can make a lot of assumptions, but we don't have that information to make that, to confirm that we can address all the things that need to be made to make that finding. So I guess that's, mind you, I know you know that. The applicant doesn't know that. And so I just encourage staff to, it may take a little hand holding to get the applicant, let him know exactly what we're looking for to get us to where we need to go so that we can make a determination on the project. Okay. I love going last because both of my commissioners or co-commissioners, very well stated. Thank you very much. I don't know how much detail at this point we need to get into as far as direction of staff. I just need a few additional things, like resolving conflicting information that I heard today, whether or not there's treated wood being burned in the training facility. I love fire departments. I live in Round Valley, so thank God for fire departments. But I think we were told that there was nothing being burned other than clean wood, but there's plywood being applied. I just want things like that clarified so we really know what's going on. And I guess also addressing the potential for reintroducing soil contaminants. I guess I'd like that clarified also, that that's going to be prevented, because I think they're anticipating doing vehicle maintenance. Obviously, that's a potential. I mean, is that going to occur inside the shed? I mean, just small little details like that I think will actually help allay some concerns with the neighbors, because there's been a lot of conflicting information, lack of information, what have you. So some of the details about soil contaminants, water contaminants, and how that's going to be prevented, I think would probably help with this process. So that's about all I had to add. Thanks. Anything else from the commissioners, I should say? I'd like to invite the applicant, if the applicant would like to make any final comments today. Is he? Oh, there you are. Sorry. Thank you. I guess we're at the point of inviting a motion. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. A big deal. Okay.
I would like to continue for it to a date uncertain.
Deputy County Councilman Matthew Kudrowski, and providing direction to staff to analyze the issues and concerns raised by the Commission.
Yes, thank you.
So just for my own edification, is the hearing remaining open, or are we closing it?
Given that we're talking about, I'm not sure there's if we close the hearing today, odds are, given the changes and review we're doing, we'll reopen it at the next hearing in any event, so it's not really important.
So
well, if you close it today, we're going to reopen it at the next meeting
Right.
when it does come back. We have to renotice it, and we'll have it. Odds are some kind of memorandum for review for people. So I'm not bothered if it's left open. If you want to close it, that's fine. I would just, in all likelihood, we'll reopen it at the next meeting.
Do you need a motion to continue it? So we have one person. I second that. I just want to make sure neighbors, people get notified. And I also want the lead agencies to get notified again.
Can we add that to the motion, that we, in addition, we want to make sure that it is re-notified?
Yeah, not necessary. This will have to get renoticed entirely by going to a date uncertain.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, excellent, thank
You
you.
om-
I understand what you're
Okay,
saying,
you
because
only-
otherwise we'd be stating the date, so there wouldn't be a need to go ahead and say what the next date is. But because it's uncertain, we need to let people know, hey, we've decided on a date. So
It'll be
this is what
noticed
it is.
entirely again as a new project, for a new 30-day period, presuming it's still considered as a negative declaration or an MND. Either way, it still has that time frame.
Thank you.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Do we have any matters from staff? Oh, that's a good idea. My manners are terrible. Thank you very much. We really can't do our job if the community does not show up and express their concerns. So thank you, applicant, for showing up today and giving us information, and thank you for everybody else for letting us know what's going on. Appreciate it. I understand, but I think we have, yeah. Oh, thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate it.
Please, through the microphone.
Used to these kinds of meetings, but it seems to me that it's hard enough for the public to understand everything that's going on. And all the time the discussion has been going on, there's been something going. I don't know whether it's one of you guys kicking the place in front of you, or whether it's the guys upstairs. But there's been during the various comments that you've made and the public's made, there's been a constant thump. I don't know if anybody else has mentioned it or noticed it or not.
I think it's the microphone.
Well, I tried to see if it was, and I don't think it was. It was something else. It was interfering with my hearing, if it happened while somebody was talking, I couldn't hear it, or it knocked it out, something. I appreciate, though, the process. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry you were having difficulty hearing. I do apologize. Thank you. Go ahead. If you'd have to come to the mic, please. Oh. Shall we restate it, reiterate it?
The motion is for the commission to continue this to a date uncertain for staff to evaluate all information received during the public hearing and by commissioners today. All items will be re-noticed with a 30-day notice through newspaper and adjacent as previously stated.
Can we explain the
Yeah, if you'd
the
like to
notice
be on the
process?
contact list, please email again to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.gov with your mailing address if you did not receive the legal notice.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think we were at matters from staff. Are there any matters from staff?
Yes, quickly, Russ Ford, Senior Planner. So the county is in the middle of updating its housing element and environmental justice element. So there is a community stakeholder meeting this afternoon, in just about an hour from now in Conference Room C. Just wanted to put that out for the public. Anybody that's interested in housing issues, environmental justice issues, please attend. It will be put on by our consultant, Placeworks.
Okay, thank you.
Is there Is there a means for the planning commissioners to get, because I didn't necessarily know about it until you just said now, and I need to plan for that. So where could we, can we be emailed as planning commissioners when stuff like that happens? I'm not trying to add to your list of things to do, or where is it located on the website or somewhere that we could be a part of?
There's flyers posted on the website. I believe a push went out on social media through the executive office. But also, if you'd like to be put on the mailing list for any housing element updates, we could certainly do that too.
Like an email? Okay. Email,
Correct.
yes, because I don't always follow social media, so
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
And just, there's a meeting that's happening on the coast, and this follows through, but it's also something about non-code and legitimizing non-code houses, and I don't quite know. Are you connected with that at all? Okay.
I'm not familiar with that one. Maybe that's related to the LCP updates.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we kind of morphed into matters from the commissioners, but any additional matters from the commissioners?
I have I'm concerned as a commissioner that for the last, I would say, over a year or maybe almost 2 years, I've been noticing that lead agencies are not commenting in our packages on what comes to us. And that concerns me. And I mentioned it to Russell Ford yesterday on the phone when we talked. And so I want to have a discussion. How do we turn that around? Right? Because something's not right when out of 10 lead agencies and we have 2 comments, and we have something like what we had before us that took a couple hours. There might have been a few more things that some lead agencies could have commented on. Now, and then I'm going to talk about what's the process when you're a planner and it goes out and you see that nobody responded back? What do? Do you then call those lead agencies and say, hey, we haven't gotten a response from you?
Yeah, Russ Ford, senior planner. I think it depends on the responsibility of the agency and the scope of the project. For example, if we don't get a response from transportation and it's a project that doesn't really involve transportation, we probably would not follow up. There's a lot of agencies that just won't respond if they don't have comments. Conversely, if it's something significant like the Coastal Commission or air quality where there's an issue that's potentially impactful, we typically do reach out for additional comment a couple of times. But at some point we just have to take the project to a hearing, and we've done everything that we can do.
Right, and it's interesting because the DOT, Department of Transportation, actually responds a lot. And you kind of start noticing there's a pattern from where I sit. Who's responding, who's not responding. And I hear what you're saying. And my point is, as a planning department, on the how do we get more action, more review from these agencies?
I think you have limitations. I say that only because as a planner, I have the same challenges because we work with a lot of special districts as well, and everybody is inundated. They work with they're asking us to, we're asking the environmental to health to comment on something. They have their everyday load, and then they have DPW. They have all these other different things that are coming in, and so it's just, I don't know, it's something that necessarily the planning department could do. I don't. Maybe it's not an uncommon challenge. It's not specific to Mendocino County. I've never worked with an agency that didn't have the same struggles.
Hey, Nash, I'm glad that brought you up.
If I may, through the chair, stepping back into this role of chief planner, I've asked staff to follow up on some of these things with agencies. I actually saw the staff report and saw no comment on a lot of these things. But I think it's not just here, it's everywhere. And what you're having is attritions, turnovers, and a lot of public agencies and a lot of responsible agencies that don't get back. It's one of those things where if it's not something that's elevated to the top of the list, it's whenever they get to it. We typically give them 2 to 3 weeks to comment because we're trying to determine whether or not there's impacts, no impacts, or they have issues and so on. And my approach is just because an agency doesn't comment doesn't necessarily mean that there are no comments there. And we've also seen some agencies that comment at the 11th hour. We want to avoid that. We want to be able to get all the comments in as soon as possible. So all we can do is try to contact these agencies beyond the initial referral and say, hey, we haven't heard from you. Is there anything that you would like to comment on? And so on. And I'm sure you go through the same thing. And all it is trying to do a little bit more due diligence on this. But yes, we will go ahead and make that extra effort. Thank you.
It's all about the squeaky wheel. Okay. Did we finish matters from the commission? Okay, great. I am going to invite a motion to adjourn. Anybody?
Oh, yeah. I motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Wiedemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Chair Richards.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.